Have you ever thought about the power of social media? Social media has the power to make your business grow. Yeah! Why don't you let us manage your social media? Because our business is to see your business grow. Visit us at www.bestownmedia.co.za.
So the first response, of course, to why we're partnering with Philips is because we want to improve and increase awareness around cardiovascular diseases, as well as the risk factors. And the risk factors, as I think most people know, but we forget when we are eating the wrong things, not being physically active, smoking too much and drinking too much of alcohol, are exactly those things. And we know that we need to therefore focus on the risk factors, and we need to be more physically active. But we also need to be able to monitor the vital functions of the body. And one of the key things with the increase in technology and the improvements in technology, especially the technologies we can use on our own as just ordinary people without going to the hospital, as well as in homes, it's very important for us to have those, because it empowers people to monitor their own health. And it's very important to have these new technologies to monitor our own health, so that we can both see when we're doing well and continue doing the things that are keeping us well. But it's also to help us figure out when we might be precipitating some cardiovascular accident, for example, and therefore we can seek help early, because it's always better to seek help as early as possible. So the new technologies, such as the ones from Philips and other companies, are very important, especially if they are what we call point-of-care instruments that can be used by the individual without any supervision. So, as we've been saying on just about any health condition, the department alone cannot fix all problems. We have to have partnerships with communities, with retail, with manufacturers of both drugs and devices. And this partnership will help us take devices into, for example, malls, because we know a lot of people, when they are well or when they don't have symptoms, don't go for checkups. So we need to make it easy for people to check their own health, and having instruments such as the one Philips is putting into malls and giving to NGOs will help us take these services outside of hospitals into places where we find people, like the malls, like where NGOs work in communities. We would like to see it, of course, in religious institutions like churches. So when people go to Sunday prayers and services, they can also test themselves for their vital signs. So that's the kind of advantage we have in the partnerships we currently have, including the one with Philips. Well, we would like everybody who wins the competition to get one, and of course to be able to donate it to their favorite institution or NGO. But really, we would like these partnerships to extend beyond this initiative. But it's a very good start, and I think it will also trigger other manufacturers to do something similar that Philips has been doing with respect to cardiovascular disease.
So we've done this in Egypt, we've done this in Kenya, and now we're doing this in South Africa. And the main goal is twofold. We want to create awareness for choices you can make in your lifestyle that actually can reduce, in this particular instance, the risk for cardiovascular disease. Eat a little bit more healthy, exercise a little bit more, not smoking. And we want to do that in a way that we also get people to actively participate. So we ask them actually to participate in a 10-minute cycle on a stationary bike, and they can cycle against a colleague, a friend. And what we do is that by the kilometers that they actually generate, we are going to donate up to 25 AEDs if they make the required kilometers, because with a sudden cardiac arrest, it's critical that somebody can help you in the first 5 minutes. And by having the AEDs available, you increase the chances of survival. So it's about creating awareness, helping people realize that they can make choices that can improve their life, that can improve their lifestyles and reduce risk like cardiovascular disease. We want to make it a little bit of a game, active, and by joining us they can actually help with the Heart and Stroke Foundation in South Africa to generate enough miles, so kilometers, so that we donate AED. Well, let's start with the last. Philips has, as a company, the commitment to impact 3 billion people's lives by 2025. That is one of our goals. And of course, to impact people, you need to create awareness and offer services. So you can see this as part of this. This is sponsored by the Philips Foundation. And actually an AED or a sudden cardiac arrest can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Well, that's very simple. You show up. We're in strategic areas where there's a lot of traffic, and again, we invite you to come over. We want to share with you some things about healthy lifestyles. We want to tell you about CPR. And of course, we ask you then, please cycle, because if there are enough kilometers, then we can donate the 25 AEDs.
Because I think the problem is that access to healthcare is always a challenge. However, having said that, I think the National Department of Health, at a public health level, has tried to put in more clinics and get a bit more resource heavy. But it's not easy. But it's way better than it was pre the democracy. The private sector in this country is not a problem. It's the public health sector that still poses a bit of a challenge. And one of the key things the United Nations is driving, along with the World Health Organization, is universal access to health care, what we're calling universal health coverage. So that is big on our agenda. So as you would have seen from the presentation, it's quite a natural fit because the Heart and Stroke Foundation has a public health agenda, right? So in other words, our beneficiaries should be underserved communities. And so we don't have the kind of financial clout to be able to carry out all our work. So the private-public partnership is critical. But having said that, because the focus is heart disease, and Philips is the innovator for the AED. It was a natural partnership. And it's not like it's 1 in 200,000 people. This is a burden of disease that is pretty steep. And so it's kind of a natural fit. And I think the nice thing about it is it's not just Philips corporate. So it's Philips Foundation, it's Philips corporate, and it's the Heart and Stroke Foundation South Africa. So you've got the 3 hearts in with one goal. And yes, there is the corporate side, which is the realistic way to look at it, but I think that we all have the right purpose.
For more stories like these, go to www.social-tv.co.za, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on our social mediums.